Welcome back with a new analyze beside me, Jonathan Baker, aka Dark Force, still at my place, and I have the honor to analyze some games with him. More like he analyzed and I ask him some questions. Let's say it this way. This time we have Fruitdealer, who's actually playing SlayersBoxer, a great show match on the Blizzcon 2010, and those two players, had a best of 3 against each other. We don't want to spoiler any results, but let's have a look in this game. We are on Metalopolis, and what do you think about both players?
Fruitdealer is definitely one of the best, or if not the best Zerg in the world, and obviously after winning the first GSL, at that time he was definitely the best, but now after his recent GSL results, I'm not so sure anymore. I don't want to spoil, but anyway, he's still definitely, probably still the best Zerg player. He has especially after the patch, he has a little different style of playing the early game other than me. I'm personally getting the Zergling speed a little earlier, and not an early Roach Warren, but Fruitdealer is getting the Roach Warren very early. I think sacrificing a second queen and getting that a little later, getting Zergling speed at around like 35 or 30 supply, so he has earlier Roaches but later Zergling speed. I'm not sure. I have to admit, it's very hard to say if it's just a matter of choice or if there's actually one variation which is clearly better. And I might have to change to getting an early Roach Warren, especially after I got bunker rushed with 2 Rexes of Marines today. So maybe the early Roach Warren is actually a safety precaution against this kind of early bunker rush, because the Roaches are obviously much better against kiting Marines than slow Zerglings are. And and he's also getting the hatchery at 14. I'm personally getting it at 15, but really it's such a small difference. So
it's about the opening on both sides. We see off Rex not so far from his base.
I think it's a pretty smart play. I mean, if Fruitdealer scouts Boxer's base, he will immediately think Boxer is going for maybe some kind of 2 off-racks marine play, some kind of very cheesy all-in-ish play, and like this, it's not so all-in. He can fly the racks into his main base pretty quickly if his rush fails to get a wall in. Now he's building 2 bunkers which completely block off the ramp. A pretty strong play on close positions. Fruitdealer was a little unlucky that he spawned on close position. And now that the first Marine is there, the Zerg is actually in quite a tough position. And I'm very curious how Fruitdealer will respond. He got his gas very late. He's just now building it, so he will definitely get the Roach Warren early on. Yeah, which he does. Oh, he actually cancelled the hatchery. That's quite interesting. And maybe that's something I should do in this kind of situation. I often try to break the contain in this situation instead of just giving it up and playing one base for some time, because I personally just hate one base. But he wasn't able to kill even a single SCV when he was fighting with his drones down at the bottom of the ramp. So maybe he decided that it's not really worth trying to break it. And now he's rebuilding at the gold minerals. That's quite risky, but if the Terran doesn't scout it in time, it can definitely work very well. And he sneaked out 4 Zergling, 2 of which got killed, but he mostly sneaked them out to get some information, and he actually managed to kill 1 SCV in the process of scouting. And now he's just placing them at the bottom of his of the ramp to see if there's anything moving out.
But would a Terran usually scout this expansion, this phase of the game?
The Terran might send an SCV out, go to the bottom left watchtower, and after that just scout the whole bottom of the map for hidden expansions. So it depends. I mean, Terran should, but people often forget to do that kind of stuff, because hidden expansions are rather unusual, especially by Zerg, because if this expansion is far away from your main, you have a lot of problems transferring drones to the expansion, if the Terran finds the expansion, it's difficult to defend against Hellion Harass or all sorts of Banshee play is a big problem if you defend far away from your main. Oh, and now Boxer scouted it pretty early with his Hellion, and now it's definitely, I think actually Boxer is favorable right now, because the expansion is definitely not in a position you actually want to have it, and part of the reason why this can work and might work is because the Terran might not be able to scout it very quickly, and now I think Cool kinda needs to like get back from a disadvantage.
So what is SlayersBoxer waiting for some more units to
He's
tank?
waiting for his first tank and his Banshee. I think he's getting one Banshee at least. Yeah, he's getting a Banshee, and when the Banshee is out, it's good for many reasons. First, he can harass the main and the expansion, and Cool needs to get 2 queens in both bases to defend against the Banshee, because one queen loses to one Banshee. So that's one of the disadvantages of having the 2 bases spread out very thin like that early in the game. And if Boxer tries for some kind of Roach all-in or Roach Speedling all-in, in the moment he tries to move down out of his base to set up the expansion, then he has a Banshee which cannot be attacked, and then it's much easier to defend against this kind of all-in play.
The second expansion, even when the situation doesn't look perfect to the turn.
That's something I personally never do, because if I have enough drones and if I can't even saturate 2 bases, I don't really see a logical explanation for getting a 3rd hatchery that early. But maybe he wants to have, right when he has 2 bases saturated, he immediately wants to do more. And this was a very good timing by Cool.
But should have killed the queen.
He should have. Yeah, he definitely should have. But in the hectic of the moment, he probably didn't notice it was just like one shot away from being dead. And maybe he also thought he might be able to escape with the Banshee, and it's probably not worth sacrificing the Banshee for 1 queen.
But look at the income. The rich mirror field does a good job.
It's definitely paying off. He's also getting 1 Spore Crawler, and now this attack is kind of a nonsense. I mean, if he gets 1 tank, Boxer's microing very well. Maybe not. He definitely should have saved the tank. I mean, losing 1 tank early on is very big for the Zerg to get that, because if the tank count reaches like a certain number, like maybe 5, 6 or 7 tanks, then the Terran can push out very safely, and losing 1 tank can delay a push by like 30 seconds, because he needs to wait for another tank to pop out.
And that's happening. He's building a lot of drones after he has killed the
now
tank.
he's feeling a bit safer, because 2 tanks, it's a lot weaker than 3. And I mean, he also needs to take a risk. I mean, if Boxer would be going for some kind of timing push here, he might definitely be able to kill Cool, but Cool is just hoping that Boxer will be afraid to move out, especially because the creep is like already reaching the outside of his base. And he's using that like psychological advantage to power more drones than he should be allowed to, and regain his disadvantage he got early on that way.
So what can the Terran do right now? Just attack would be the best solution?
I mean, he kinda needs... I'm not sure, does he have Stim researched?
Let me check.
Yeah, he does. But the problem is he made 3 Banshees. I think that's too much. I think he should have stopped after 1 Banshee, maybe gotten 1 Raven against burrowed Banelings, and then switched a reactor to the starport and gotten Medivacs, or just produced Medivacs out of the Tech Lab starport. But I'm not a big fan of getting so many Banshees, because I mean, of course now he has 3 Banshees and they do some damage, but usually the Zerg already has a Mutalist at the time the Terran can get 3 Banshees out of 1 starport. I'm not sure why Cool didn't... I mean, he's getting Hydras, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because Hydras are, not really good against anything. I mean, Hydra is just a very useless unit against Terran, so I don't understand this choice. I definitely would have gotten Mutalisks, and I think I'm very sure that this is a mistake and not something which is like a matter of personal preference or style or whatever. I mean, it's just a straight out mistake to get Hydralisks, in my opinion.
So why are Hydras so weak in the
Well,
matchup?
they have very low hit points. I mean, they do good damage, but against Banshees, they are not, I'm not even sure if they are actually cost efficient against Banshees. They might, but they are, well, they die so fast, and they are quite expensive. And against Banshees, Mutalisks are, well, they are just so much faster, and well, the Hydralisk is very, very slow off creep. So if like Cool attacks like the 4th base with his Banshees, well, there's nothing Cool can do, because if it takes like a minute to walk there with the Hydralisks, and by then the base is long gone. And yeah, that's why I think just defend with Queens until you have Mutalisks, but just don't build Hydralisks against Banshees. I mean, Mass Banshee with Vikings is a different story. You might need Hydralisks there, but against like...
But Boxer's doing what you have mentioned in a different replay before, that you have to kill the creep before you attack.
Yeah, that's actually something... it's nice that we talked about that last game, and I said it was a mistake by the Terran, but Boxer's definitely doing better than he did, and well, Cool is immediately trying to replace the lost creep, and well, you see how important it is to have the creep still alive, and yeah, I think that's very good, and he was kind of making a preparation for the push, which is coming now, and well, but Cool reacted very well by immediately replacing the creep, and now Boxer might think the keep is still going back right now, and maybe he didn't realize that there's a new creep tumor which was positioned, because right now he's sitting on a creep tumor, and Zerg will be able to engage at full speed, and yeah, like this he definitely might be able. I think if the creep wouldn't be there, Boxer might actually be able to make a successful push and maybe even win the game here, but like this, with all the creep being spread on the battlefield, and well, yeah, Cool has massed up quite a large force of, I think Roachling Hydra is what he's doing.
And you were so right with the Raven instead of so many Banshees. One more Raven would have been a good decision to kill the creep.
Yeah, and I mean also the point defense drone, I think it works against Hydralisks. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it does.
What again?
The point defense drone, does it work against the Hydralisk missile? Yeah, it should. And I mean the auto turret is also nice for harassment later in the game. But yeah, I think one Raven is definitely better than getting so many Banshees.
Well, how much do you like this drops with the Banelings?
Oh, I really love that. That's one of the things I actually learned from Cool. I think it's very good to drop Banelings on the tanks or maybe on the Marines, depending on situation. But especially when it's like a rather tough game. I mean, or maybe you weren't able to get... Oh, now it's engaging. And the overlords are a little bit late. Maybe he should have flown those in earlier. But he's doing very well because he's fighting on the creep. That's the big difference. I think if there wouldn't be any creep there, and then he would have lost this fight so much harder. And now, I mean, he's still lost, but he was able to kill quite a bit of Box's army. And he of course he's still producing from 3 bases. And Box is sieging up too late. Now he has all the links between his tanks, and yeah, I think that's pretty much the game deciding mistake here, that he didn't siege up his tanks faster. And I mean, once the links are in between all the tanks, then he's in big trouble. I think this push might have been I mean, he might have been able to win the game with this push if he hadn't unsieged all his tanks at once, or maybe just like 2 or 3 at once and then leave the rest sieged. But like this, Cool was able to get between the tanks, and then they sieged up and maybe even did friendly fire to each other.
Also, big problem that
yeah,
Boxer can't expand a second time.
Yeah, maybe he should have immediately moved to the gold mineral, which he killed anyway, and it's better for the Terran to use the gold minerals because of the mule. But well, maybe he didn't want to get it because the Zerg already mined a bit of the gold minerals. But anyway, now there's just so many units of pools streaming in, and the Terran doesn't really have like a solid wall of tanks anymore, and it's kind of over. I think actually unsieging too many tanks at once was like the deciding mistake, and that's something which now is preventing the command center with the overlords. I think that's something that often decides games, that the Terran unsieges all tanks at once, and then the Zerg immediately moves in, especially when he unsieges on top of creep. He needs to be so careful about unsieging tanks when on top of creep. And yeah, I mean, of course it's hard to do for the Terran, but I mean, he can kinda like leapfrog forward, like unsiege half his tanks, or maybe even a third of his tanks at once, and then move a little forward and so on. And yeah.
Finally he got this expansion, but still harassed, and it's too late.
It's really, now his pool is moving in again. Now he's sending the overlords in a little preemptively, which is very good. Last time the overlords were a little behind the rest of his units, and so they still managed to drop their bailings, but it was kind of after the fight was already over. I mean, and yeah, the overlords are slower than the rest of the army, so you need to. It's often very hard to do to time everything perfectly, because everything moves so fast, and if you send them overlords in too fast, they get insta killed by like the marines. I mean, they do a lot of damage if they're stim, but yeah, that's also one of the reasons why I often don't get infestors, because I already have to time everything else very well, and then the infestors, it's too much work.
This is over for sure. We wait for the GG.
Yeah, it's definitely over now, with all the roaches coming in here. But I think it was a very interesting game, and especially the removing of the creep and the immediate replacement by the Zerg. That was something. I mean, it seems like such a minor detail, but it's actually very important. It was very important in the game.
So we're talking about this situation.
You know, it was a little more to the bottom left, but yeah,
right
it was
there.
Here. Yeah, here, right.
Yeah, here was it. But one of the most important parts. It seems like just a little fight, a little mistake, but it can decide so much.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it increases the movement speed of the whole Zerg army by so much, even if it's just, well, such a little thing. I mean, well, it's not really a little thing, but it might look like a smallish thing to many people.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for analyzing this game. A great game by Fruitdealer. Do you think Boxer's already on the top? I mean, he did some decent results on the GSL.
Yeah, actually, I'm very surprised by his results. I thought he would be out of the GSL rather early, because I'm always a little careful when people get hyped so hard. I didn't expect that he would be able to get into it so quickly, but actually he's doing very well, and some of his games I wasn't so impressed. Actually, I'm more impressed with Nada, but Boxer's also playing quite well, I have to admit. But I enjoyed the Nada against Linux games. I think those were very, very well played by Nada. Oh, I hope I didn't spoil anything. But anyway, yeah, he played well in these games, no matter what the results were.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan, for this analyze. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you like more, just subscribe my channel, TaKeTV Takesen.